this song, but I know if I'll try, I'll get copyright claimed. Yes, greetings, fellow subjects of Animation Station. Good day to you all. I am just a humble comic book fan who, for many years now, has been a pretty big fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But for many different reasons and circumstances, we haven't been able to really cover much of it. We have dipped our toes in it every now and then, of course. You know, all the Spider-Man movies, we got those out of the way. We reviewed Captain Marvel 1 and 2. We reviewed Captain America 4. I did an original review for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania on my other channel. So, yeah. And this was originally going to be done in 2023. But, however, due to an unforeseen tragedy that all of you already know of by now, well, I couldn't, and it ended up being Power Rangers instead. But now, 5 years after I started this channel, and after amassing over 1,000 subscribers thanks to you amazing people, I thought I would reward you guys by giving you something that more than likely many of you have been wondering my thoughts on. The entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, we're not going to go over the stuff we already covered. We already went over it, there's no need to make another review. But this is for all the ones that I have not done yet, including the entirety of Phase 1, most of Phase 2, some of Phase 3, and a lot of Phase 4. So, and of course Phase 5. So, we have a lot to get through this month, and I'm only hoping that my reviews will bring you guys some joy and delight, because I have waited for literal decades to talk about these movies, because so many of them are cornerstones of my childhood. Yes, I did start with the pre-MCU stuff, you know, the first X-Men, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, Daredevil, Hulk, Ghost Rider, that was my start. But I didn't really get into it fully until 2008, where we got not one but two revolutionary comic book movies that are still debated against each other to this very day. You have the Academy Award-winning masterpiece of The Dark Knight, and of course, this one, the groundbreaking, cinematic, action-packed thrill ride known only as Iron Man. And little did we know what would spawn from this movie when it came out back then. Not to mention the incredible story it has tied into it with its main actor, Robert Downey Jr., which we will go over briefly, don't worry. It is an integral part of discussion when talking about this film. And of course, I mean, it's literally the beginning of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. If this movie didn't do well, we wouldn't have what we have now, for better and for worse. So, I'd say after 5 years of waiting, it is time to finally dive into the MCU, movie by movie, and season by season, because we are going to go over some of the TV shows too, and see the highs, the lows, and the mid of this incredibly expansive, groundbreaking cinematic universe that we haven't seen replicated successfully since then, with the exclusion of, that guy over there. So, yeah, I, needless to say, have a lot to say about these movies, so these are probably going to be some of my longest reviews for any theme month ever, so strap yourselves in. I hope that little intro I did in the beginning gave you a little bit of humor. And also, huge props to you if you got the Tom Grossi reference that I threw in there. And if you didn't, go watch Tom Grossi, he's amazing. Okay, that's enough build-up, I would say. Let's dive into the very first Iron Man, released all the way back nearly 20 years ago in 2008, and give it the review it deserves. Because even now, this is still one of the strongest and greatest movies in the entire MCU. Easily top 5. Not only because of what it set the groundwork for, but also for just being an amazing movie by itself. Like, even if we didn't get a cinematic universe out of this, I would still call it an amazing standalone movie because it works as an amazing standalone movie. But since it does lead into the big cinematic universe we have now, it only makes it even more significant. So, this is going to be a very long review. I have written an extremely long written review for this one, and I promise to keep spoilers out of it. I always keep spoilers out of my reviews unless it's television shows, because television shows, you kind of have to go spoilers to actually discuss it. So, without further ado or delay, here's my review for the first movie of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Iron Man. It still baffles me how this came out the exact same year as The Dark Knight, and helped kick down the barriers of comic book movies being just for kids. Sure, movies like the first X-Men and the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy laid down the foundation, not to mention also Blade for the R-rated side, but it was this film that truly began the age of successful and critically acclaimed comic book / superhero movies that we have today. Because you have to remember, it was not taken super seriously back then. Back then, most of them were seen as box office poison, in the words of the Nostalgia Critic. But because of Iron Man, and because of what it has created, because of its existence, it is way more than that. That besides the Sonic movies, we haven't seen successfully replicated since, because we've seen so many people try to do this. We've seen the DC Extended Universe from Snyder, that was a huge fail. We had the big failure of the Dark Universe from Universal, which kind of funny considering how they're the one that actually originated the cinematic universe with their original Universal monster movies. Yes, I never forgot that, and yes, I'm a nerd, so I'm going to bring it up. And honestly, outside of, I guess, the DC animated universe, which is amazing, by the way, we haven't really seen anything of this scope or this scale of a cinematic universe that has movies that pretty much everyone likes. Like, even the ones that they had to retcon later for canon reasons, they still are mostly liked by a grand majority of people. Aside from maybe the next one, the weird redheaded green-skinned stepchild we gotta talk about next time. But my point is, this was a huge deal. Sure, back then it was just seen as a great comic book movie. But now, with the history that it has, it's more than that. I seriously cannot overstate that enough. But despite being the launchpad of the MCU, it's also just a groundbreaking, action-packed standalone movie all by its own as well. All this is then compounded into real life, as this was the movie that also simultaneously redeemed and revived both the career and life of Robert Downey Jr., a man who's been guilty of many things all throughout his life, to where this would have been his final role had it not performed as well as it did. If this did not perform or get reviewed well, he would have been done with acting entirely. Sure, financially speaking, Dark Knight did better. Yes. But it's because of this movie that RDJ is as iconic and beloved as he is today. And following the likes of one Michael Keaton from the 1998 Batman movie, it was a casting that everyone back then was against. Well, not 98, sorry. 68? 78. Yeah, whatever it is. Editing will correct me later. You know, the original Tim Burton, Michael Keaton Batman movie. That's what I'm talking about here. A casting back then that everyone was against. But just like Keaton, it's difficult to see anyone but him as his character nowadays. Yes, everyone's going to have their preferences when it comes to Batman, but I will always put Michael Keaton at number one. With the exception of Kevin Conroy, of course, in the animation department. Iron Man is still just as incredible and genuinely remarkable as it's always been. It was amazing in 2008, it was amazing in 2018, and in 2025, almost 2028. well, it's still just as incredible as it's always been. The great acting from everyone involved, from Gwyneth Paltrow to RDJ to Jeff Bridges to Terrence Howard to Jon Favreau, like everyone, whether they were a side character or a main character, put 110% into their performances. Painstaking faithfulness to the source material. Like, yeah, this movie changes up a few things because, it is a movie. It's gotta Hollywoodize some of it, but it is still faithful to the core elements of its source material. Something that Marvel has been very hit or miss on since then. Fantastic storytelling, outstanding writing. Like, this is one of the most mature movies in the entire MCU. It feels so down to earth and not really gritty, but it has that slight hint of darkness with it with some of the stuff that it tackles. Phenomenal effects that still hold up almost 20 years later. Like, I literally just rewatched this movie again right before I did this review, just to make sure it was fresh in my head. But I was wowed by the incredible effects that are in this movie. Like, legit wow. There's a lot of practical effects. There's top tier CGI, like really well done CGI, you can barely even tell. And it all fits into the world seamlessly. Like, seriously, I cannot overstate it enough. These effects are absolutely fantastic. And they really sell the feeling of, like, flying through the air or battling a big, giant behemoth. It is insane. Like, it is insane what these effects did and how amazing they still look even all these years later. Excellent characters. They're not one for one like their comic book counterparts. There are some changes, but they are very close. Like, RDJ was perfect as Tony Stark. He was the perfect casting choice for this character. And then you have people like Gwyneth Paltrow, who is in a side role here for the most part, but as this universe progresses, she becomes more and more pivotal. Awesome action. This movie's action is on a whole other level. Whether it's when he's in the suit for the first time, just knocking around the 10 rings, or when he goes back in his improved red and gold classic iconic suit, with obviously a few realistic changes that are barely even noticeable. Like, it is as close to its comic book counterpart as it gets, with the exception of the weird, goofy stuff they did in this first incarnation. Let's not forget about that. Or even just the final battle against Ironmonger, where you have them, like, being thrown through walls, you have them crashing through ceilings. Like, the action in this movie is incredible. All throughout it, it is legitimately impressive. Even today, it is still some of the coolest stuff I have ever seen in any comic book movie. Seriously, awesome action. The action's awesome, and it'll always be awesome. Perfect pacing. It's kind of a slow burn and kind of not. Like, take, for instance, my accountant review. My problem with that movie, it was way too slow, and it felt like it was wasting time. Here, it is sort of a slow burn because you do get, the origin story and him battling his first big threat. But, at the same time, it doesn't feel rushed. Like, it feels like they actually took the time to let every scene sink in, but ended each scene before it overstayed its welcome. That is tough to do. Amazing soundtrack. This is what got me into AC/DC. Like, not even kidding. This was the movie franchise that got me into AC/DC. That should speak volumes in of itself. Not to mention the incredible version of the iconic Iron Man theme that they did in the end credits. That thing is awesome. I will never get sick of that. Substantial runtime. This movie's barely 2 hours, but it feels longer than that because it has so much content packed into it. Superb world building. The world building in this movie is great. Like, they take their time, they let every scene sink in, and they do their best to flesh out this world that they've created, which is both down to earth and slightly heightened by its, comic book isms. Hilarious, quirky humor. This was before the MCU humor started to become cringe. This is how you do this humor correctly. It's snarky, it's snappy, and it is quick, but almost each and every single one of them gets a very genuine laugh. Whether it's like the physical comedy when he's trying to test out the new parts of his suit in his house, or just him crap talking people. Like, it is funny. Like, this movie is legitimately funny. Spectacular directing from Jon Favreau, amazing director, and exponentially high rewatchability. I have rewatched this movie and a grand majority of the MCU more times than I can count, because even today, every single watch, it just gets better. I notice more things, I appreciate more things, I find out new things. Like, even in this most recent rewatch, I still learned something new. That's the beauty of this film. No matter how many times you rewatch it, you'll always find something new that'll make you appreciate it even more. Then on top of all of that, you have the start of the trademark Marvel post-credit scenes. Okay, light spoiler, but this movie's almost 20 years old, I think I can get away with it. This was the first post-credit scene in the entirety of Marvel Studios, and it's one that's become a trademark of their movies since. The post-credit scene that rewards the people that stay all the way through to the end by giving them a possible hint at what's coming next. In this first movie, it's Samuel L. Jackson showing up as director Nick Fury to talk to Iron Man about the Avengers Initiative. Now, back then, it just seemed like a tease, because back then, again, comic book movies were not taken as seriously as they are now. So back then, it was just seen as a cool little Easter egg. But as these movies progressed, not only did they become a trademark of the MCU, but it is some of the things that most people look forward to most when they go to see a Marvel movie. Like, rarely ever, even in their bad movies, do they screw up the post-credit scene. They always find something to hype people up about, even if some of them go absolutely nowhere. And, of course, the delightful Stan Lee cameos. Yes, this technically started with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man and, the pre-MCU stuff. But it wasn't until this where it became a trademark, where it became something everyone looked forward to, because it's like, oh, so Stan Lee's going to cameo in every single one of these movies in some way, shape, or form. That's pretty cool. And, of course, it's acknowledgement of the man who created this universe and the amazing work that he's done throughout his life. Like, it's literally the best way they could have honored him. However, as well built as this movie is, there's still one bullet hole, and it's one that continues to plague the MCU even to this very day. That being the villains and the very forced twists that associate with them most of the time. And this has become a problem of Disney as a whole, so I'm not going to be incredibly harsh on just Marvel here for it. Jeff Bridges is a great actor. Everyone knows it. He's always a great actor. He always delivers a great performance. Even if he's in garbage, he still tries his best. But Obadiah Stane, aka Ironmonger as he's called in the comic books, is just a really generic run-of-the-mill antagonist. Like, if you've seen these kind of movies before, you know exactly what you're getting with this guy. Like, yes, Jeff Bridges does a great job with what he's given, and it's not bad writing by any means. It's just, when you see so many movies, you start to see patterns. And with this movie, it's because of the villains. So. And then there's the 10 Rings. They're intimidating, but they are overall just a throwaway. Until they were brought back in Iron Man 3 and Shang-Chi. For better or for worse. They do work well enough for this film as a driving force for both the story and Tony Stark's character development, but in the grand scale of the entire MCU, they are some of the most forgettable villains in the entire universe. Like, they are forgettable. The only reason that I remember Obadiah Stane is because of Jeff Bridges. You put anyone else in that role, I'm not going to remember it in T minus 2 days. Also, I can't talk about this movie without this, unfortunately, and it's not the movie's fault, but this does have that one controversy with Terrence Howard. You know, the original casting for Rhodey until he's been replaced by Don Cheadle. Again, Terrence Howard is a very good actor. He always has been. But because of his infamous on-set feud with Robert Downey Jr., he was recasted, making his part in this movie feel insignificant and also very, very badly aged. Like, it's the one part of this movie that has aged like milk. Everything else about it has aged like fine wine. Why am I making drink analogies? I don't know, but we're gonna roll with it. Overall, though, this is still one of the best movies of the entire MCU, without a doubt. Fans love it, critics praise it, and even casual moviegoers really enjoyed it. Sure, it wasn't as successful as The Dark Knight, but you could argue that it made a bigger impact going down the years coming down the line. Like, Dark Knight, amazing movie, a lot of people love it. I do think it's great, if a little bit overrated. But after that, all you get is Dark Knight Rises, and then it just stops. Whereas with Iron Man, it began an entire cinematic universe that has yet to be replicated, aside from that guy. From its legacy to its remarkable high quality, Iron Man left its mark on film history, and because of what it started, it only gets better every single rewatch. Like I said, no matter how many times I've seen this movie, regardless of my age, I always find something new about it. Something new to appreciate, some new detail that I might have missed. That just makes me love it all the more. It gets better every time I watch it. Plain and simple. And it genuinely blows my mind that the very first movie of this MCU is still one of its strongest. I will always, always adore and cherish this movie for the good it's done for both film and real life. It was the redemption arc of a man with so much talent that just made so many bad decisions, but because of this movie, he found redemption, he cleaned himself up, and he became the icon that he is today. Not to mention, this, again, kicked the door down for comic book movies. Up to this point, they weren't taken seriously. Like, every now and then you got a great one, sure, like Blade, or the original X-Men, or the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, but most of those were mainly aimed at kids, with the exception of Blade. So, this one having the ability to appeal to both adults and kids, that is extremely impressive. So, with all that said, it's time to get down to the final verdict for this movie. And it's one that it deserves, and it's the highest that I can give it, regardless of its one and only issue. My final verdict for the original MCU launchpad known as Iron Man 2008, high, well-deserved, and incredibly well-aged 9.5 out of 10. It's an incredible movie, it's a phenomenal movie, and it will always be amazing. Like, I will never get sick of this movie. It will continue to be praised for many, many years to come, and I just wanted to be the one to add to the pile. Amazing movie, and it only gets better every time you watch it. Highly recommend it. I would say go see it, but more than likely, you probably already have. And with that, we're done. That is the end of the first review of many, many more to come throughout this marathon. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe for more videos like this almost every single day. And feel free to leave your thoughts and opinions on my review or this movie overall in the comments down below, or even your memories with it. I would love to hear your stories of how these movies connected to you, just like they connect to me. Well, that's it for now. Thank you guys for watching, and next time we're going to look at the big monstrous green redheaded stepchild of this MCU, and the only one that is not canon. It's confusing, but trust me when I say it's still a movie that's worth talking about. So, I'll see you guys next time for, in my opinion, the critically underrated and beyond overhated gem known as the Incredible Hulk. So, until next time, thanks for watching, and say it with me now, Excelsior!
Excited for what comes up ahead. Hey.